morning, peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless, and I'm back with another video. Welcome back, and yeah, man, I hope everybody enjoyed the day. Today is Wednesday, trying to get over the hump, and I hope everybody can hear me clearly because I got something wrong with my truck, so I had to leave it running while I record. Normally, I cut it off, and I got my earplugs in, so I hope you can hear me clearly. Um, but I'll review it before I upload it. But yeah, man, I've been wanting to do this video, man, like a few days ago, but I just been busy, tied up, and once again, problems with the truck, so kind of been delayed. But I'm kind of happy that it was delayed because there's been some more updates. Every day is something new with this war, right? So I just try to space it out a little bit so I can get to a point where it's really pivotal and have enough information to where something different from the previous update. And I think the last update I did was probably about 5 or 6 days ago, when Donald Trump and the president of China was supposed to have a meeting. And as the title says, Trump Xi meeting recap. Did the Iran war just change? And some things transpired since that meeting in Beijing, China, that relates to the Iran war, and the dynamics changing. But first, I want to go over the meeting. As you know, Donald Trump and then his administration flew out to China to meet with President Xi of China, right? And I've been telling you guys since Trump got back into office, all of these different military operations by proxy have everything to do with China. Even Venezuela, when we went over there and did what we did and captured Maduro, right? This whole situation with Iran, all of these countries are by proxy allies with China. And I've always told you guys, China, Russia, and Iran were all trying to come together to create a different currency outside of the U.S. dollar to go around the U.S. dollar. And that's with the petrodollar. That's why, that's global energy and oil sales are around the petrodollar. And our dollar is, you have to utilize our dollar to trade globally. And they were trying to, China was really behind trying to get around using the US dollar so they could become the superpower in the world. So a lot of this has a lot to do with power. These were power plays to get Venezuela under control in the Western Hemisphere. There's some updates going on with Cuba. That's another nation that Russia and China are, intertwined with. So you might hear about that soon. But I hope that Trump doesn't bust a move with Cuba until let's secure these midterms. We don't need no more military. I think that we just offer $100 million in aid to Cuba, which is a good thing. First, they said they didn't want to take it. Now they're saying they want to take it. They really need it. So hopefully they took it. But like I said, all of these military moves have a lot to do with China. So it all boiled down to this first meeting. And let's recap some of the things that happened. And that meeting happened, like I said, about last weekend. Trump was greeted by a huge standing ovation from the residents of China. I mean, children out there waving Chinese and American flags. It was a beautiful sight to see. The military was saluting President Trump and President Xi as they, walked down the pathway. Um, they stayed out there for about 2 days, 3 days. They had dinners and festivals. So it's good, it's great, even though these two leaders are, I wouldn't say enemies, but are adversaries, it was good to see that they were able to get along. You know, with the situation with Iran erupting, China, that's what I'm saying. China buys 90% of Iran's oil. So 90% of the oil that Iran sells goes directly to China. So China is their biggest financer. So with us having this blockade and this, not letting any ships go through, China is largely affected by that. So was a way to also bring China to the table. See, when Trump, the key word of this meeting is leverage. So you have an issue getting oil out the Strait of Hormuz because of the conflict that we got going on with Iran. You used to get a lot of your oil from Venezuela too. So I captured Venezuela. I'm having trouble with Iran right now, but we got you if you need to purchase some oil too, and you don't even have to go through all this drama. You could come straight to the United States. You could go straight to Texas and to Louisiana. Send those Chinese ships. It's closer and it's less drama. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into some of the things that happened, some of the negotiations that happened. They talked about expanding market access for American businesses into China. See, when Trump went, he not only brought his immediate administration. Trump also brought 16 CEOs from different business and tech backgrounds with him on this trip to China. So you have 16 of the most affluent, business savvy billionaires from America in China with Trump. So they came to do business. Like, hey, like I said, key word is leverage. You can sit up there and act like you don't want to, because see, China could put some pressure on Iran as well to open up the Strait of Hormuz and take a deal. By them being 90% of their financer, if China come in and tell Iran to back down, they might take that advice. So we talking about 16 billionaires of business and tech companies coming to the president of China saying, hey, let's make some deals. And we could get some businesses, some American businesses in China. We could get some Chinese businesses in America. We could make it do what it do with 16 of the most affluent businessmen, billionaires in the building. So that was part of the leverage. The second part of the leverage is Trump said they talked about wanting more progress on stopping the flow of fentanyl into America. See, that was another issue. All this fentanyl that was coming through South and Central America coming up into the United States was sent through by China. You know what I'm saying? So they talked about stopping the flow of that. The other part of leverage, the third part is the Chinese purchase of American agriculture products. So they talked about China buying more soybeans and things of that nature from America. So, yeah, you want to do business with American billionaires. Hey, we could trade with you. You could buy some of our soybeans. Number 4, President Xi expressed more interest in purchasing American oil, which would lessen China's dependency on the Strait of Hormuz once again. So that's 40% of China's oil is from Iran. They go to other places, but 40, so a large chunk, 40%, almost half of their oil comes from Iran. But y'all can start shopping with the United States. Like I said, that was one of the biggest ones, so I have to draw that emphasis. If China start buying oil directly from the United States, man, that would be amazing. That would collapse Iran economically. Mind you, we got economic fury, the operation going on where we trying to, you know, destroy the regime financially. And this will be part of the plan by getting the biggest financier on our side to buy oil directly from us. So now, both China and the United States agree that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. So we got President Xi to agree with President Trump that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. This is so pivotal. You know what I'm saying? Because this is their ally admitting that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. Because I'm telling you, if Iran has a nuclear weapon, what would that do? All people in the Gulf, all the other countries would want their own nuclear weapon. So now you get all these Middle Eastern countries with nuclear weapons, and imagine the Strait of Hormuz, Iran playing games with the Strait of Hormuz with a nuclear weapon. It's nothing you could do about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, these people have agreed to not wanting a nuclear weapon, but they were caught trying to get one. And then when they got caught, they admitted it. Well, yeah, we got enough uranium to make 11 nuclear weapons. What y'all gonna do about it? They got smart. So even China, who is their open ally, has admitted to President Trump and the United States and the rest of the planet that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was tremendous. Also, China was not asked to pressure Iran into making the deal, but they said that they wouldn't. If they were able to be of any assistance to help Iran, they're willing to help the United States. That is major. And the only concession, the only time that it went a little sideways is the discussion of Taiwan. Now, Taiwan is a small island, a country off the coast of China that's independent of China, but China wants to invade Taiwan. I guess that some part they feel as though they were a part of China. The problem with that is we get majority of our semiconductors from Taiwan. So we provide Taiwan with a lot of military assistance to fight off China from invading them. China said, and President Xi told President Trump, hey, everything sounds good, but how you handle Taiwan will determine how this relationship gonna go forward. So that was kind of like an open threat to President Trump from President Xi about Taiwan. Now, these semiconductors, these chips that you hear, that you might tend to hear about, that we get from Taiwan, they help with anything from our cell phones to towers to, power plants. These chips that Taiwan makes are so essential to our civilization that we are willing to provide them military assistance and jeopardize our relationship with China, because we need those chips so much for everything that we do. So you probably saw headlines where they say President Xi basically made an open threat about Taiwan. Now, from my understanding, Trump didn't say he was going to help Taiwan, or said he didn't. It didn't say he was going to help Taiwan. And his reasoning was, why would I let my left hand know what my right doing? I just said, I'm not going to address that right now. But I got all this other leverage, all these other deals, all these other 16 billionaires here, including Elon Musk in the building, some of the world's most wealthiest people in the building. It's like a candy store for you, though. You know what I'm saying? We've been dealing with this issue between the United States and Taiwan for 40, 50 years, if not more. So this is like a mute issue. They gonna feel how they gonna feel. United States gonna feel how they gonna feel. But we need those semiconductors and those chips from Taiwan And China knows that. That's why they want to invade the island of Taiwan. So that was one concession that we need to see how that play out. Now, President Xi also agreed to buy 200 Boeing 737 jets from an American billionaire. So they're gonna be buying private jets, Boeing jets from seven. They're gonna buy 200 Boeing jets from one of the people that Trump bought down there. That's what they say. Now China be lying, but let's see if he bad. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna buy some 600,000 barrels of crude oil per day. That's what they said they want to do. You know what I'm saying? They said that they want to start out. They want to start out with 600,000 barrels of crude oil per day. I think they're gonna go over there to Australia to start out and start purchasing American oil. They also agreed once again that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. We went through that, and they also said that the Strait of Hormuz must be open as soon as possible because they still getting a lot of their oil from them. Now just keep in mind, the country of China imports 11.6 million barrels of crude oil per day, and Iran was supplying 1.6 million of those barrels per day. So basically, Iran was providing them 1 out of every 7 barrels of oil that they use every day. That's a huge chunk that they're missing out of. 1 out of 7. They was getting 11.6 million barrels. Imagine the country of Iran losing that type of money. That economic pressure, you would think would encourage Iran to go ahead and take a deal. And we got China slowly but surely buying 600,000 barrels of oil from us, from the United States directly. That should put some pressure on it. But Trump came back to the United States, and that was pretty much the review of the meeting. And we're going to see how that goes. And both sides, stick to the end of the bargain. But so far, man, so great that Trump pretty much got China on his side in the war with Iran, which is huge blow to Iran. China and the United States. So you got both worldly superpowers telling you that you cannot have a nuclear weapon and that you must open the Strait of Hormuz. Now, as it stands, Iran was still playing games, talking about that not going to, they sent over a few peace treaties on paper, and it did not include the main ingredients in the peace treaty that President Trump says that he wants to end the conflict, which we all know is to agree to hand over the enriched uranium so they cannot make any nuclear weapons. And the other is to open the Strait of Hormuz. And the peace treaty didn't involve that. So Trump threw it away. You know what I'm saying? And I also, the huge update and why I'm happy that I waited to do this video is because we all always said that I feel as though we're going to go back to military operations, right? And actually Trump was scheduled to go back to military operations to hit more of their infrastructure this time. But our allies in the Middle East stepped in at the last minute. We would have went back to military operations as of yesterday, Tuesday morning. It was the military was on their way. They already actually not on their way. They was already set in position to start striking Iran again. But three of our allies, their leadership came forward and called Trump and said, hold fast at the last minute. And those 3 countries were Saudi Arabia, the president of Saudi Arabia, I think the prime minister of Qatar, and the president of UAE. Now, what's funny about that, all three of these countries, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, once this conflict started, Iran, they didn't have nothing to do with it. They start bombing these, Iran started bombing these countries for no reason once we started bombing them. You know, so maybe they did that because we got military bases over there in some of these countries, but they hit other countries like Kuwait. They just started bombing everybody in the region. You know, they was already, you know, into it with Israel and things of that nature. But for some reason, so it's really interesting that these three countries specifically have come forward and told Trump to hold fast. We might can work out a deal in the next couple weeks. He said they said they gonna work out a deal within the next 2 to 3 days. That was yesterday, Tuesday. Today is one day down. I haven't heard anything, but we're gonna stay tuned to see what kind of deal that these countries can come to. Because remember, Pakistan, that's another ally, you know, but they like neutral. They cool with Iran. They cool with the United States. They were trying to negotiate a peace treaty when J.D. Vance flew out there to meet with Pakistan and some of the leadership of Iran. But as of lately, I heard that Pakistan was hiding some of the, like at least one fighter jet from Iran. So wait a minute. How can you hold negotiations and you're holding a fighter jet from, you know, us in Iran, from Iran? What kind of mediator could you be? But hey, we shall see, man, what's going on. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that the Middle East hates the United States. We got a lot of allies in the Middle East, quiet as kept. Iran basically is on every other country nerve in that region of the world. And a lot of the Middle Eastern countries rock with us a long way. And that's why they're trying to find a diplomatic resolution opposed to us going back to military combat, even though Iran had bombed their countries. And they also have returned bombs on Iran. These three nations, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, have returned fire to Iran. So I guess they somehow got in contact and they trying to work out a deal. But yep, that's the update right now as far as the meeting, the recap with President Trump and President Xi over there in China. And did the Iran war just take a dramatic change, or are we still going to be going back to military options? It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. We love y'all. Until next time, we should see you soon. Peace and blessings.